performances so memorable. For another, it's her ability to show off without seeming to show off. Surely her fans could give many more reasons why she is today's leading lyric coloratura. Before we engage Ms. Swenson in conversation, here she is singing on the stage of the Metropolitan Opera for the 25th anniversary gala for James Levine. Ruth Ann Swenson, welcome to A&E and Breakfast with the Arts.
Thanks, nice to be here.
There's a little story about the clip we just saw. What's the story behind that?
You know, it was a really exciting evening. You know, there were thousands of people backstage getting ready to sing.
Now, we've talked about this gala night before, I think, on the show. It was like 16 hours long, right?
Oh, it was
literally
forever.
Yeah, it's a couple of days, I think.
As a matter of fact, I was able to leave the theater, go to my apartment, see the show, and then come back at the end when we all wanted to come on stage. It was to take a bow. However, I was supposed to sing the Lucia duet with Luciano Pavarotti, and he was not feeling well. So at the last minute, he canceled. And then I was asked, what am I going to do? And what would I like to do? I thought. I was in the middle of doing Romeo and Juliet in performance, so they thought that that would be the perfect thing to do the aria. You know, crowd pleaser, great tune. However, we didn't have a chance to rehearse it. But with the maestro in the pit, that was never a problem. We had a great time. It went without a hitch, and it was really fun. You know, it was more the exciting moment of the evening that was the crux of the whole night.
And it didn't matter to anybody.
It didn't matter to anybody that we rehearsed or nothing, because the orchestra had heard me sing it 6 times already. So they were fine about it, and the maestro was wonderful. So we just went together, and it was like we had done it for 100 years.
In my introduction, I called you a lyric coloratura. What does that really mean?
I think it means a soprano who has a lyric voice and the facility to sing quick, fast passages.
And you're able to really hit some of the higher notes.
I am.
I had heard that early in your career, though, that you didn't feel comfortable with those higher notes. How did the transition happen?
Well, I didn't think they were in my voice. Truly, I thought, I'm just going to be a soubrette, which is just the Susannas, and we called them the Inas and the Eddas. Susanna, Adina, you know, Norina, things like that, Zerlina, which never take you up into those real coloratura type areas. I always make a joke and say, well, I like to visit, but I don't like to camp out there, okay? We like to go up and down again.
I see. So what changed?
Well, the voice was able to do these things. However, I didn't realize that until I started studying real technique with my voice teacher. And all of a sudden, it was just obvious to everybody that this would be part of my voice, that I should be singing this repertoire, and, you know, took it from there.
Growing up on Long Island and Comac, did you have any role models? Did you come into the city, come into Manhattan and see opera?
No, we had a musical family. My mom and dad both sing. Was, you know, surrounded by it in school. I played the oboe in the orchestra and the band.
Do you still play?
No, not really. I was involved in all the choral music in the school, and I was taken in to see the children's rehearsals that they left at the Metropolitan Opera, that they allow the children to come in to observe, and they open the curtain, you know, after in one of the acts to observe the changing of the set and all that stuff. And I think I saw Giovanni, I think I saw Butterfly, and my mom also took us in to the city to see the Met and City Opera.
I would just venture to say that most kids, or a lot of kids, when they, you know, have to be dragged to the opera, you didn't feel that way.
No, well, you know, my mom would tell us the story, and she'd explain how fantastic the music is, and we had been surrounded by good classical music in the house. And she would turn on the Texaco Saturday broadcasts for us in the car. However, kicking and screaming to beg her to turn it off. She just started telling us the story, and we would end up by the end of the trip enjoying every minute of it. So it was a good thing, and it was almost like destiny that I was going to be doing this.
You're off to San Francisco this next season, is that right?
Yes.
To do the Dilemma more?
Absolutely.
Are there special challenges for that particular role for you?
Well, you know, growing up, it was always one of these fantastic roles that any soprano would love to be able to sing, and for it to come true for me was a dream. That did come true. I've sung it there once before, and I'm going to be returning this fall. Then I come here to the Metropolitan Opera and sing it, so it's a wonderful piece. I mean, it's the famous Mad scene, has fantastic music. You have to go through a lot of changes, and poor thing, you know, she's just so distraught and such a victim. But, and it's such a crowd pleaser kind of opera. Everyone loves, you know, they know so many of the tunes, and it's a satisfying piece for me to sing.
One critic, and I'm not sure they were a critic, maybe just a writer, was commenting that you seem too happy to play these really sad, depressing roles.
You're the second person this summer who said that to me.
You're obviously convincing.
They did. I was singing Traviata in Europe, and they said, how can such a happy person sing such a tragic, dramatic role? And I said, well, you know, it is acting.
Acting.
Acting. But I think it's my job to make it look easy and to make it look convincing. And I am a happy person. You know, I consider myself very down to earth and normal, whatever that word means. And I have a good time. If I didn't have a good time, I wouldn't be in this business.
Do you find them more challenging, the more dramatic, serious roles, or you find once you get into the role, you just play the role, and it doesn't really matter whether these happy, peppy people?
Happy, peppy people. Once I'm into a role and I know what I need to do, and I've studied it, and I have it musically prepared, then that's the time for me to think about how I would be if I was in that situation, and draw from life experiences and books and history and all the things that you can draw from, and try to put it across as best you can. And that's all anybody can ask. I mean, to do your best job, and that's what I try to do.
You say you're a normal person. I think people expect anyone who has the word opera singer on their business card to be a diva. Do you think that's overplayed too much?
I think it's overplayed. However, when you walk through the, you know, customs agent and they ask you, what do you do for a living? I said, I'm an opera singer. You are? That's really cool. I don't know anything about opera. Stamp, thank you very much.
That's all you get.
Yeah, really.
But you get a few things, you know, like an entourage, and people take care of you.
I think there are a certain amount of people who have that, but that's not the norm for everybody who sings opera. It's not as glamorous as anybody makes it out to be.
Well, you tell me, when it comes down to it, it's about long rehearsals and makeup,
exactly,
and lots of things that are rather difficult.
Sure. Lots of preparation, lots of vocal study, and being healthy. I mean, so many things. Learning about what you need to know, the language, you know, deportment, stagecraft, all these things. That's why opera is so incredibly fantastic when it all works, because all these things come together. Orchestra, stage, everything. And that's what's so magical about this art form.
What are you doing at the Met this season? What's coming up?
I'm doing some more Lucias, and then I'll be doing the heroines in Hoffman, the Tales of Hoffman.
Now, if you play more than one role?
I do.
How does that work?
Well, it's the first time for me, so I'm going to give you the rough idea of how I think it might work.
Okay.
I play Olympia, which is a mechanical doll. I play Antonia, and then I play Giulietta, who is a courtesan, quite a sexy lady. And it's each act I get to play a different character. The first is quite a high coloratura piece, the second is more lyric singing, and the third is quite low, kind of sensuous and sexy. And then there's another role of, what is it, Stella, I think it is, who doesn't really do much singing, but she appears. So that's the fourth one. But I'm hoping that I do a good job, and I'm looking forward to it. It's with Mr. Levine, maestro, and it's a wonderful cast, and it's a opera that I think people like to come to because there's so much to see, and they know the story, and it's fun. It's fun. So I'm looking forward to it.
When you mentioned the low notes, I was reminded of a story of somebody who had to audition, and they came in and they were running out of time, and they just told them, "Could you just sing your best note?" That's all they got was one note.
It happens.
You don't have to audition anymore, do you?
Not anymore, but I've had people say, "What would you like to sing, dear?" And I say, "La Sonnambula," which is quite a long aria, has a long recitative and a beautiful melody, and then a cabaletta. "Well, we might not be able to get through it. It's quite long." I said, "Well, stop me whenever you want." End up listening to the whole thing and then asking me to sing another one, which was, knock on wood, very nice. But I have a funny story that I've heard about a woman going into an audition and saying, and they, calling from the audience saying, "What would you like to sing, dear?" And she answered to them, "Well, I'd like to sing Aida, but I can't."
That was the question.
So there it is. That was the question.
Yeah. So many opera singers used to have to go to Europe and establish themselves there and study and make a big European name for themselves and then come here. You didn't do that, and that's sort of a growing trend that people homegrown, stay here, work here. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's different for everybody. When I was growing up, that was what you heard everybody did. They either went to college first and then went to Europe and learned the languages, or got a fest there, which is being in one place for a certain amount of years, and then coming back and hopefully, creating a career from that. But, I went out to San Francisco Opera and started there and was in the summer program, and then continued to be apprentice in that company and started my career from America, which for me was fantastic. And I look back and I think how lucky I am that I was able to do it at home in America.
That's a special place for you then.
It is.
And to go back there this year must be like homecoming to you.
It's great. I've sung a lot there. They've been very, very good to me. I've sung almost every year since I started there. And it's home. It really is a home house for me, if I want to call a home house.
What other roles that you haven't done are you looking forward to do in your career?
Well, I've just started doing Traviatas, which is something that I've always wanted to do, and I'm so happy that more are coming in the future. I'd like to do something maybe along the lines of more Verdi material. Desdemona, Louisa Miller, maybe some of the bigger Rossini pieces, which are interesting projects, I think, that would come from me. I could do many things, but, they have priorities and the list of things that I like to try out.
You mentioned preparation earlier. I mean, some of these are 3, 4, 5 hours long in a language you may or may not know. How much preparation does it take to open up an opera for the first time and go, okay, I'm gonna learn this?
Well, you have to just start somewhere. You start with the language, you take it to your teacher. I do, at least. It's different for everybody. A lot of people do their own technical work and their preparation in other ways, but you learn the language, you learn what everyone's saying, you learn the story, you work on the musical difficulties of the piece, and then you start memorizing it. And that usually starts a year or so, at least, ahead of time.
Tell me about some of your recordings.
My latest is a Mozart Handel opera, aria album, I should say. Just a collection of arias, and that I've always wanted to do, and some of them I've performed and some of them I haven't.
You go into a recording studio, do they mic you really close? Are you right there? Or
no, there are no mics at the Met.
No, I mean, and then when you get into a recording studio,
right.
Are they really close to you?
Yes, they're really close. You're right there.
What kind of adjustments do you have to make?
Well, they say sing for the mic, but that's very difficult because the people who are used to being on a big stage and walking around and emoting and being very emotional in a part, when you have to sit there and concentrate and not move around because the microphone will not pick you up, it's a little different. It's a whole other ball game. And some people are really good at it, and some people, it's more difficult for them.
It's a specialist.
Yeah, yeah.
Could I hear your best note? I'm kidding. Ruth Ann Swenson, you are too much fun. Thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you so much.
Ruth Ann Swenson can be heard in the Los Angeles Opera's The Elixir of Love from September 11th through September 26th. For information, call 213-972-8001 or visit their website at laopera.org. After that, she can be heard in the San Francisco Opera's Lucia de Lammermoor from October 12th through November 6th. For information, call 415-864-3330 or visit their website at sfopera.com. Breakfast with the Arts will continue in a moment.